Hello, hopla. Hi everybody. I'm very happy to see you there today in Vivatech. It's great pleasure for us to see that first of all we have so many people and that we were able to gather entrepreneurs, investors, and of course people that invest like us, BPI France, but also EIC, Business Angel, and so on. I am Paul-François Fournier. I'm in charge of innovation within BPI France. This event is in a particular moment for us because, as you probably know, France has put a strong momentum 10 years ago with the launch of La French Tech. And we start to see, after 10 years, it's a long journey, the first result, especially in AI those days, but in many other parts. But since 5 years, we decided that we need, within this French Tech, to launch a new initiative called Le Plan Deeptech. We understood, like many of our colleagues in Europe and the world, that the world of innovation was changing, and that startup was probably the best way to create innovation, not only in the digital, but also in all new space of the industry, and that we need to accelerate for that the transfer of technology within our university. We have a strong background of university in France, but clearly we knew that we need to do more startup to accelerate the tech transfer. And President Macron, within this initiative, give us a huge objective, 500 startups a year. We were 5 years ago at around 150, and we are proud to announce that we have doubled this number, more than 300 startups created link with the university in 2023. So it's good, but we know that we have ahead of us even harder journey to go up to those 500. We are more and more, as far as we progress in this path, convinced that this is a major plan for France, and that we have, with this initiative, with this ambition that I think is followed strongly by Europe, by EIC, but also, of course, other countries. We think that we have here something that can transform our country. First of all, because when we look at what we have built with those startups, we see that we are clearly in very strategic area. 1/3 of those startups are in the health tech, 1/3 are in the green tech, and 1/3 are in what we call sovereign technology, like AI, like quantum, and like robotics. So clearly, this fits perfectly with what we need more in Europe, and we are creating then the future of those transformations. The second thing we discover is that with those startups, especially those deep tech startups, we have a path also for reindustrialization. We understand little by little that those startups are creating more and more product and that they need more and more factories. So we launch with the support of the government and France 2030, the plan that Macron launched 3 years ago. We launched a new plan over the deep tech plan called the plan Startup Industrial, which aim at support the creation of the industry of those startups. And we track the numbers of those factories, and we see that they are rising on a very good pace, which gives us more and more interest to follow the deep tech plan and this industrial startup and factory plan. So we are on track, but clearly we need more momentum, and we need to work differently in the future. We need to accelerate the transformation of the tech transfer in France. Even nowadays, we need to go faster, we need to simplify, and I think the government is working on it. We need to work also more and more with our European colleagues. I mentioned the EIC we work with in this event. I think it's a very strong signal of the commitment of France to work more and more closely with the EIC and to create a European ecosystem. We will succeed together, even though we are in kind of competition with Germany, with Italy, with UK. It's a way of clearly create momentum, and EIC is a way also for us to work together and to give us, of course, more money. The other things we need is clearly more money to feed those startups, because the more we create them, the more we finance them, the more we need, and you need, especially the startups which are there, more money to do that. And this event is a good example of what we want to do. So we launch a tender. I think there were 250 startups who commit to this plan. We select with the IC, with a well-known, and I would like to thank them, European VC fund. It's not only French one, even though we love the French one, but we money has no country, so we love European and international money. So there were a lot of European VC. We were part of this initiative to select 50 startups who we believe are, I would say, the top of the startup we should invest in the coming months. And this event is a way to accelerate the catalyst in between the money and the project. And I hope that at the end of the day, we will have deals, of course, but we will have also, which is more and more important, get together, connection in between the VC, connection in between entrepreneurs, connection with EIC, BPI France, the France 2030 project, because again, we will succeed together, and that's the way we will create this new ecosystem. So thank you very much for listening to my very French accent. The more I will work with the European Commission, the best I will I hope I will improve my English, but as you can see, as in the Deep Tech plan, we have a lot of job to do together. So thank you very much for being there, and again, have a great afternoon, and see you then.
Hello everyone, thank you for being all here today. Just before we kickstart the series of roundtables, we'll start with a few information. So now 3 roundtables of 20 minutes each, from 3 p.m. till I think 4:15-ish. After we'll have the 4 sessions of pitching sessions. So over here we'll have the sustainable companies, so 15 companies actually. Over there will be the digital vertical, with 13 companies. We'll have here the industry vertical with 7 companies, and here the health tech companies with 15 companies. So basically all pitching sessions will happen simultaneously, and afterwards, like something like 4:45, something like this, nearly 5 p.m., we will start the series of one-to-one meetings that you all investors, corporates, and attendees, of course, have booked with the companies. So without further ado, we'll kickstart this series of roundtables. The first one being from lab to startup, the formula for success, shedding a particular light on researchers and PhD profiles. So let's welcome Céline Debled, startup manager at Agoranov, et Maxence Jamet, senior associate at Entrepreneur First. Thank you, Céline, Maxence, for being here today and taking the time to sharing your insights with the public. First, could you just present yourselves and describe the methodology used in both of your programs?
Maybe you want to start?
I can start. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having us. So I'm Maxence. I'm working for a company called Entrepreneur First. We're a talent investor. Our goal is basically to bring the most exceptional people for a 3-month program in Paris, where we help them to find a co-founder, find an idea, and then get funded by the best VCs. So the methodology we use is a methodology called the EDGE methodology. We're trying to basically identify the expertise of the best people out there and try to help them capitalize on that expertise to build a company. We're working with a lot of PhDs. Of course, they have a very technical expertise, so we're trying to push them to apply the expertise to real-world problems.
Thank you, Maxence. You, Celine?
So after Entrepreneur First, often the projects carry on and launch their startups. Then at Agoranov, a deep tech incubator based in Paris, we are here to coach the co-founders. Our methodology is about personalized and individual coaching for each entrepreneur. On my side, so I coach about 20 startups in the digital sector. And then we also have a collective acceleration program with workshops, events to help them on all the problematics at the early stage.
Thank you, Celine. And just very rapidly, so that all can understand how Agoranov and Entrepreneur First are very different. Entrepreneur First is actually not an incubator nor an accelerator. Just to better understand, do you have an example of a company that has been in both your programs and to help them understand how you differentiate yourself?
I think we have lots of startups in common. I think 23, right?
25.
25. One example is a company called Everdye. They are basically building a new process to dye textile. And so basically we met the two founders separately at EF. The CTO is called Amira. She has a PhD in chemistry from Tunisia. And Ilan used to work at Agoranov as a full-time employee and came to EF. They both came to EF without idea, without co-founder. And so we basically made them meet, ideate on a new way to basically dye textile. Amira has a very technical edge on how to basically have a greener process to dye textile. Ilan has a sort of network in that field and a really strong behavior to make things happen. They matched together, they try to transform this industry, and they raised money after leaving EF, and then they joined Agoranov.
At EF, they had the first prototype they made in Amira's flat, and then at Agoranov, they made the first product, and we coached them to industrialization.
Many thanks, both of you. Well, if I understand correctly, actually the Edge's philosophy of Entrepreneur First heavily relies, on PhD researchers. Actually, we could say basically Agoranov just as much do the same, since actually Agoranov takes on the future of some of entrepreneurs' company. How many actually PhD of those profiles have you seen pass in your ranks since 5 years ago, or even the creation of Entrepreneur First 15 years ago almost?
Yeah, so EF was built in 2011, so it's been a while. In France, we basically started the operation in 2018. And so we started the first batch with 10% of PhDs. So a batch is roughly 50 people. And now last year we're 30%. So massive uplifts in PhDs.
And at Agoranov, we've been created 20 years ago by the Ministry of Research. So it's our goal to support researchers or PhDs to launch their startups. And for the last 4 years, we have about 50% of our startups that has at least one PhD in the co-founders team.
Many thanks. Well, as Paul-François Fournier rightfully said so earlier today, 5 years ago was launched the Deep Tech Plan. Would you say it has had an impact on both of your programs, actually on those PhD profiles?
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more PhDs willing to build companies after finishing their research or their postdoc. I think there's many explanations to this. Of course, the environment is getting more mature in France. I think we are seeing also more and more role models that are showing the way for future PhDs. When you look at companies like Mistral AI, all the co-founding team, I think, is made of PhDs. It's not from EF, by the way. I would love to. And yeah, we are also relaying a lot of word of mouth. When a PhD is quite successful and willing to build a company, they will basically tell their peers within the lab that they found a great program to help them build a company. So that could explain as well why we have more and more PhDs at EF. And you, Celine, what could you say?
The Deep Tech Plan democratized the subject, and it's a lot because we see that our entrepreneurs get more coaching, get more non-dilutive financing at the early stage. So it reassures private investors to raise funds then.
Great to understand and great to know. Actually, would you have identified as well some sort of a spark in their minds to help them take the leap of entrepreneurship?
Definitely. Like we see way more, I think in terms of applications, so we receive roughly 1,000 applications for each batch that we're organizing every 6 months. We started with less than 100 PhDs applying to the program. Now it's roughly 300, so it's 3x the number of PhDs applying to the program. So yeah, definitely a spark. And what we are trying to do is to help them become entrepreneurs within the program and change their mindset. But I think we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, definitely. And you, Celine, at Agoranova?
Yeah, for what we see, the PhD profiles are passionate by the technology they learn during their thesis, and they want to apply it to an impactful project, and that's why they want to become entrepreneurs, and they are striving for finding a business profile to support the team.
Thanks. And well, to talk about somewhat related, topic. How do you help them find the best, co-founders? Here at BPI France, we've launched the Tandem service to help them find the co-founders. I'm sure it's quite different at Entrepreneur First, relying on, the edge philosophy. But I think also sometimes at Agoranov, teams split up, so you help them, bounce back and find their co-founders. How, both of you, can you explain the association you make in your programs?
Yeah, I think I will take an example. So Amira's example, so the co-founder of Everday. So she came to EF without any idea, without co-founder. She explored for a couple of weeks, within the batch, who could be a potential fit for her. And after 3 weeks, she came to me saying, "Hey, I will leave EF. I didn't manage to find anyone in the batch. Thanks a lot for the support." And I was like, "No, I mean, you have a great expertise. I'm pretty sure you can explore more and find a great fit for you." And so it's just about giving people the confidence that they will find someone. And making sure they did the sort of introspection on what's their expertise and what do they need as a sort of complementary skills to basically make the most out of their PhD. So yeah, we kept pushing, and yeah, she met with Ilan and now building a great company.
Yeah, for what we see, it's often by networking that they found the other co-founder. So we help them meet people, be in the good networks to meet the next co-founder. And also maybe to precise it for PhD profiles, we see 2 cases. Either they switch to be the CEO and to sell the product, or they prefer to be to become the CTO or the CSO, and all that question. It's really about coaching each entrepreneur with a human coaching and understand specifically what are their talents and what they want to build.
Interesting, and bouncing on that, building on this information. I've heard a company called In Vitro. Actually, these are 2 PhD profiles. How did you help them find the best, edge? How could they use actually their respective experience actually to associate the CTO aspect of the job while also working on the CEO aspect? How did you help them find this association?
Yeah, I think for some PhD profiles, I think they have the sort of fiber to be CEO, and we just try to amplify this and give them the confidence that they could be great CEOs. So in the case of Alexandra from In Vitro, so she's not a sole founder, so she's the only founder in the team. And so since she has a great technical background, she can handle both part of the business sort of. And so the way we do it technically in the program is just by giving sort of knowledge and giving access to experts that will basically uplift technical profiles to become CEOs.
And when you have a business profile coming and trying to understand the technology, often it's a good opportunity to learn how to vulgarize the technology, and EF is doing a great job so that the tech profile tries to explain what he knows, and the business profile is more focused on finding pain points, where there could be a business. Maybe you have more to say about that, about your methodology to find the business.
Yeah, I think the most common pitfall like PhDs are falling into at the beginning of the program is that they're thinking about solutions directly. So what we're trying to do is to push them to think problems first, and really try to apply the EF methodology about, starting from your expertise, try to have beliefs about the future and talk to customers about potential pain points. But yeah, the most common failure is just to go for the best solution technically.
Right, and something that popped to mind basically is that you said from in vitro, the sole founder now, due to her background, actually understood both, the technical and the business aspect of the jobs. Well, today we also have, companies with the actually two profiles, CTO and CEO, very much distinct. How can you help them actually understand the stakes that are, in their business, in their job, in the market, to help the company scale? For instance, let's take a company like Neoplants. We know that the CEO is actually very much of a business-like profile, coming out of consulting or something like this. And how could you help him understand such, technical and complex stakes of the company? Also, at Agonov, if you have examples, that would be great as well.
I think it all comes down to the selection process that we're doing. What we're looking for in CEOs is an ability to upskill themselves extremely quickly. And in the best founders that I've been working with, they are able to understand the tech extremely rapidly. Another example I have in mind, I think it's in the event as well. At Genomics, I think the CEO has almost very little experience in mining, and now is a quite solid expert in that field. So yeah, it's just about behaviors and personalities, and we're trying to find the best CEOs on this aspect.
And for deep tech startups, we often see maybe business CEOs, but that has initially a technical background, for example, for mobile life, or lots of startups have a CEO who also has a PhD, but then had a business career.
What actually motivates, those PhDs to become CEOs instead of keeping, building on their thesis, on their experience to develop another product, to develop maybe a better product? How would they, humbly understand that CEO might be better suited for us than the CTO aspect?
I would say it's really case-by-case basis. The kind of pattern I've seen at EF is when the CTO is really keen on building the product, and the CTO, even though he has a PhD, wants to just sell and talk to customers. And so the split is really case-by-case basis, and they just have a discussion on how they want to split the roles. Yeah, that's what I've seen at EF.
Maybe to other example like Willink or Encoding, these are PhD students that start the startup thanks to the good results of the thesis, and as they were the first person to motivate the project, to build it. They have been responsible to find the first investors, to speak to the first clients, and they learn how to do that. And if they like that, they want to carry on the CEO side, because it's the project of their thesis, it's the project of their life.
Thanks. And talking about something we talked actually earlier. Well, basically. Sorry. Basically, Agonov and Entrepreneur First are very much distinct in the context that basically Entrepreneur First are at the very birth of these companies, while Agonov sometimes actually takes the lead and the future of these companies. How actually do you do the passation, actually the follow-on from one company to another, and how do you, I'd say, help them understand ideation stages, stakes actually, and more later, stages, more later stakes, such as, industrialization, commercialization. How do you both use, actually, both of your edges to help the company scale?
So on the how we communicate between our two programs, it's pretty simple. So during the EF program, we basically organize an introduction to Agonov. This is how they heard about the program and just apply after that.
And maybe about the concrete, it's also, for example, the Consile, they started at EF, and they found their first clients, and when they had the beginning of product market fit and they want to raise funds, we are here to help them for the next steps and to move on and scale.
Fantastic. Maybe last but not least, I heard neoplants basically coming out of EF. I don't know if they come actually in Agranov, but coming out of EF, they actually decided to start selling in the US before actually selling in France. How this actually raises somewhat of an issue of sovereignty. How do you help them find the proper markets, whether it's UK, EU, France actually, to help those talents stay where actually they come from, and help them understand that sovereignty is not sometimes a territorial issue.
Yeah, so for those who are not familiar with neoplants, it's a company basically building bioengineered plants to purify hair. And basically, so they met during the program, and I think to your question, there is a couple of things to distinguish. I think there's, ideation. So where do you want to ideate? So at EF, we push them to ideate in the market where they have the fastest access to, mostly Europe for most of the people we select. Then there is fundraising, and for this, we basically push them to be as ambitious as possible. And I think going in the US is potentially the most ambitious version of their fundraising plan. So that's also why we have now an office in San Francisco. And then there's operations. Where do we want to operate the business? And for this, it's really case-by-case basis. In the case of neoplants, I think there's a question of regulation that makes the US more easy to operate in. But most of the technical team is based in France, because I think in France we have amazing talents. So that's easier for them to hire great people.
For me, about the sovereignty issue, it's not about selling in the foreign country. It's about where is your IP, where is your team, where is the research, and if there is this brain drain, sure, there is maybe a problem, or entrepreneurs has to be careful about that, especially because the super European ecosystem is for European startups, and BPI France funding, EIC funding is for Europe startups. So we try to wear awareness about the subject, but it's true that if the market is in the US, and we have lots of health startups that need to start in the US because the access to the market is faster, we would encourage them to go in the right market. It's just about where is the team and the IP.
Thank you. And maybe one last question before I hand over to my colleague Marie. Basically, how do you rely actually the French ecosystem, BPI France, funding disposals such as iPhD, iLab as well? How do you rely on those ecosystems such as well the law firms for the IP to help a company in its development and its growth?
So BPI France is helping a lot EF companies, mostly through grants and the Bourse French Tech, for instance. So the way we work together with BPI is, again, we have a partnership with them. They come to present all the sort of support they can provide to founders throughout their journey, and afterwards we just let them run the relationship with the founders.
We have a wonderful ecosystem, so we try to connect them to all the events, the initiative made by BPI, and Europe's Deeptech Meetup is one of this great initiative, and we promoted we promoted it to our startup to apply.
Thank you, Céline. I think I could not have found a better way to wrap up this session. Once again, many thanks to both Maxence and you, Céline, for accepting to share your insights, your valuable insights to the crowd here. Many thanks once again.
Thanks for the invitation.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marie Dolé. I work for Europe BPI France's matchmaking platform. And in the first roundtable, we discussed how to generate more deep tech champions. So obviously, we're going to talk now about what's crucial is how do we finance those deep tech champions? So I'm delighted to have today with me Alain Pujan from France Angel, Alexandre Lang, co-founder and CEO of Tudigo, and Michel Lemp, President from France Deeptech. So I'll let you, Alain, maybe introduce yourself and present France Angel first.
Good afternoon to everyone. Are the people behind me seeing me or not? What do you think? You can join in front of us if you wish. Okay, no success. It doesn't matter too much. Okay, so my name is Alain Pujol, so I'm the co-president of France Angels, which is a French federation of the business angel. And we are around 60 business angel networks in all territories in France, and we have also some sectorial business angel networks. I'm part of Angels for Health, which is investing in health tech, well done. And also we have an aerospace angel network, we have also an impact angel network, we have also engineering networks, we have sea angels, so some sort of networks, and we have also defense angels. I'm really proud to also say that our angels were selected among the more than 250 probably, to the 50, so defense angels. Where are they? I think they are behind me. We have also badge, business angel des grandes écoles here, and Angels for Health somewhere else. So really happy to have them. And to this, so basically 60 networks, investment in 2023, more than 70 million euro, more than 400 companies financed in 2023.
Thank you very much,
You're
Alain.
welcome.
Now I'm going to leave the floor to Alexandre. And Alexandre, you're the co-founder of Tudigo. So maybe explain us what is Tudigo, because I'm not sure everyone here knows what you do.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandre Leng. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tudigo. Tudigo is a platform and the largest community of private individual investors. Our goal is to democratize private equity and to allow anybody starting at €1,000 to invest in startups, scale-ups in all sectors, all stages of development, from seed to Series B and growth even, both in equity and also in private debt. In the past 3 years, we funded around more than 200 companies for 175 million. We invest as well in deep tech, so med tech, green tech mostly. But we're very open to a lot of startups, mostly more in startups in AI as well. And so very excited to be here.
Just one question, Alexandre, to make sure it's clear for everyone here. What is like the key difference between, for example, you and France Angel?
Yeah. So we are one unified community. So we have 100,000 people on Tudigo, 25,000 people investing every year. We have a VC process. So we invest, we do the same due diligence that the biggest venture capitalists would do. We co-invest a lot with VCs. Sometimes we invest with business angels as well. We have a lot of actually business angels from France Angel. And so the difference is that anybody can join on Tudigo. So you will have some people that are actually members of France Angel that are that are business angels, but you also have people that are not business angel per se and that discover investment through Tudigo. So because we have a mission of educating the people, and so the people investing on Tudigo range from 20-year-old to 75 and more. So the population is very, very wide. It's everybody is investing on Tudigo.
Thank you. I think that's pretty clear. Michel, you're not as per se an investor, so maybe you can clear up. I mean, you are, but
I have two cats. First, I'm a managing partner at Omnes, a PE firm managing 6 billion under management, and I'm in charge of the deep tech practice, and I've been doing that for 23 years. But I have another cap, which is I'm the founding chairman of France Deeptech, gathering some players from the deep tech ecosystem, talking about startups like Pascal, like Exotech, also VCs, of course, and research labs, CNRS, CEA. And we launched this association in November 2023.
Thank you very much. First question, I'd like to talk about the current VC stage. So, I've got some numbers here. Tell me if you agree. We've noticed that the fundings in 2024, in terms both of volume and value, are lower than 2023. And that's also true for early stage deep tech startups. So do you have any thoughts about that? Do you agree? I mean, we discussed this with Michel, so just go ahead.
This is widespread. It's not only in deep tech, it's the whole, private equity sector and mostly venture capital. We see it divided by two, basically, number of deals. And if you look at the first quarter and also April, you have, it's lower. But it's not that much lower. It's 25% lower. 2023, though, was 50% lower. And so what you see, though, that's interesting, you still see mega rounds, big rounds at more than 100 million. And May, and Vivatech is actually better than last year. Last year was kind of a moody, gloomy Vivatech because there was a lot of companies that were struggling to fund themselves. We had a bunch of bankruptcy in the big startups and some, so-called unicorns as well. But now we're seeing the return of those big fundraisers. Mistral raised 600 million recently. This week announced 220 million. We had in the beginning of the year as well, we had Vercor, we had Electra, big rounds as well. So that's in the deep tech sector. So climate tech, green tech, and AI are definitely capturing most of the amounts. But you still see amounts going to fintechs. And the fact that it's lower is it's a general context of the interest rates that make financing and exits more difficult. LBOs are more difficult because interest rates are higher, so you need VCs are waiting to get the best valuation. You still had a lot of exits last year, but the median value was lower. There were more between 10 and 20 million, where it would be between 20 and 40 million. So all in all, that explains why the amounts raised by startups is lower, in my opinion.
Thank you. I'll give the floor to Michel, because when we were preparing this roundtable, this was like a very, very tricky question for everyone. So I'd like to have your point of view on this one.
No, but just to put the things a little bit into perspective. First, when we're talking about deep tech, we're talking about a new asset class within the venture, let's say, activity. And when we're, when we're analyzing what's happening in the US, because at the end of the day, we know that everything is starting in the US. In 2022, we consider that basically 34 billions have been raised by deep tech startups. When you look at what's happened in 2023, and if you don't count OpenAI, this number has been divided by 2. If you take OpenAI, 10 billion, you are roughly at 27 billion. So this is for the US. If we look at what's happening in France and Germany, we consider that basically last year, in 2023, 7 billions have been raised by German French startups, 5 in France, 2 in Germany. So France is far ahead of Germany, just behind, I would say, the UK, but in continental Europe, France is very well positioned. And what the trend for the beginning of the year, it's a little bit too early to tell, but basically we consider that we are flat. Germany is catching up a little bit. We're talking about 2 billion raised by German-French startups in Q1 2024. We can compare that to 1.7 last year, but Germany is catching up and France is declining a little bit. So, you can challenge my figures, but when, again, looking back the history of the US, I think 2024 is going to be a difficult year because again, we're talking about a 50% drop in the US last year. So we should experience that for the reason you just explained about interest rates, blah, blah, blah. But hope it will come back in 2025.
Alain, anything to add?
Yes, actually I will not ask you because you were listening to all of us. How much money do we spend, business angels, in 2023? Has someone the answer? That was our record years, more than 70 million euro. And again, so we were really happy to do that, but we can also tell that business angels were resilient. And in terms of supporting companies, so there were first round, half of them, but also supporting for bridges, which is waiting for big Series A. And actually, we did that. And so far, in 2024, we have been ahead of 2023. So I hope that 2024 will be a good year for the startups at the end of the day. And I didn't mention also the percentage of deep tech startups that we are supporting with France Angels. So some of them, like Angels for Health, it's more than 70%, 70, of our startups are really deep tech, so investing a lot in R&D. For some other sectors, it's a lot less. However, average is 20 to 25%. So 1/4 of this more than 70 million euro has been spent on deep tech startups.
And one interesting thing too, Alain, when we were again discussing just 5 minutes ago, regarding France Angel, how do you maybe invest in those companies? Maybe can you explain the process in investing? And more than that, can you explain us also the regulatory things that are happening, notamment with Pôle Midi, that will encourage investment in deep tech startups?
Yeah, we can also think of the fiscal measures that happened in 2024. Some of you may remember that in 2023, someone representing Orsay, so that's a very scientific part of France, south of Paris, did a study, and he was appointed by the Prime Minister. The goal was really to measure and to propose measures to really develop startups. He gave his report a year ago in Vivatech in 2023, and then the Minister of Finance has been working on the way to incentivize also investment. And that's what we call a mesure Midi, which has been helping also the investment for private investors. And actually, at this stage, it helps. Certainly, there are still things to really modernize or to really change a little bit. But at this stage, we hope that we can have also the support from the Minister of Finance to develop that. And your question was concerning the way we invest. As was mentioned by my friend on my left, really Tudigo is putting everyone in the same vehicle, and this is also as Michel is doing when he is investing. Us, Business Angel, we like to really help, have all the information, and be really very active shareholders. And so our history was to invest, and is still, to invest directly in the shares. However, to really put together investment from other bodies, more and more we invest in SPVs as well, special purpose vehicle, so that we can really sit with VCs, early stage VCs, with other structure, and we sit together to really develop at the same stage, develop the company, so not having minor investments in the cap table. Does it answer your question?
Perfectly.
Thank you.
But I still have one. This is our question regarding France Angel is part of BAE, so Business Angel Europe. And so my question now is about Europe. So do you do international funding, cross-border funding? Is Europe important to you, maybe?
Yeah, actually, I think that for deep tech companies, Europe, and I should say the word, is behind us and pushing hard your startups to really be the champions. And in healthcare, for instance, when there is a patient suffering from a disease, he can sit in Africa, in Asia, in the US, in the Americas, or in Europe, whatever. It should be available to everyone. So the markets are global. And again, we also would like, and we are working very closely to the Business Angel organization and the VCs in Europe, because we hope that also not only French startups, but also in Europe can attract investment from people interested in pushing and developing the vision of tomorrow. So yes, we are working with them. Concerning cross-border investment, it's always a little bit more complex to really invest in companies from France, in Estonia, in Italy, in Spain. However, we usually work very closely to someone like us who is really day-to-day with the company and the startup. We should improve in co-investment, for sure, but we will do that.
But we have the big Angel Day coming, you know, in September, October. So it's an event for funding startups and creating meetings with
That's
business
on the
angels.
10th of October.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
big, 10th anniversary.
You need to be there. So we've got three minutes left. Last question, a practical one, and I'll start by Michel. When you look at financing early stage deep tech startups, what do you look at? What are the key elements? But maybe I'll refine my question. What are the key elements? And most important, are there different things that you look at in comparison with traditional startups?
Yeah, for sure, because I mean, we consider more or less that 50% of deep tech startups have an industrial project. So this is something we are taking into account in terms of financial approach. And so when we invest, we keep a lot of, as an investor, we keep a lot of reserve to be in a position to participate, to follow an investment. So you're right. I mean, you don't invest in a deep tech startup as you could invest in digital startups. Second, what we look at. I mean, of course, the easy answer is we look at the team. I mean, this is pretty obvious. We look at the team. We look at also we have to get the conviction that this team is able to answer and to solve major issues. We want to finance worldwide projects. So it's a matter of checking the ambition of the team. And we have also to get the conviction that this team could raise, you know, large Series B and C, because we're a Series A investor. So this is the main points we're checking. You know, I mean, we won't challenge the technology. We are not technological experts. We could get access to experts. So of course, we are making a lot of due diligences, much more than in the digital world. But at the end of the day, we know that only the management will make the difference.
Thank you, Michel.
So I think those points are definitely part of it. So I'll give you my free takeaways and free advice when looking at deep tech startups specifically. So number one, when you're talking about deep tech, you're talking about breakthrough innovation, right? So like Alain said, you want to make it available to the world. So you want a company that has the potential to solve a large-scale problem and a technology that can be deployed internationally. That's why we actually do need a unified market. We need international investment, and we need to source projects internationally. So one thing is, do I have an innovation that can have a large impact? Deep tech investing is risky. It could be long, it could be costly. So you want something that has a very big potential, much more than when you're looking at digital startups. Number two is the team. The team, more specifically, I'm looking for three things in the team. I'm looking for researchers. It's innovations that come out of universities, labs, and so on. I'm looking at engineers as well, and we're looking at definitely a good management business team, because indeed, aside from selling the product, which is a key aspect when in those startups, because an innovation that doesn't sell, you know, won't actually survive. But you also need CEOs, co-founders that will be able to raise large amount of money. And number three will be the technology readiness level. You can invest at all stages, that's true, but you have the TRL, goes from 1 to 9, and we like to be, you know, on Tudigo, since we present it to individual investors, after 6 usually. We can make exceptions, you know, if you have an AI company that's starting a new model that's, you know, goes out of that protocol. But you want to look at companies that have passed some stages of development when it comes to technology readiness, because it's very long. You could be investing for 10 to 20 years otherwise.
Alain, you have 15 seconds to wrap up.
Minus 35. Yeah,
I was being kind.
Actually, we are sharing the same things. be sure that we are really helping you to be the champions of tomorrow. And again, so I'm confident that you will persuade in the next round investors and choose your investors, the one you would like to live with for the coming years. This is important. And congratulations for the what you will do in the next round. And so we are looking forward to hearing you.
Well, I think that's a wrap. So thank you very much, all three of you, and see you soon. So we're reaching now to our last roundtable, and I am delighted to have Viorel Pekka with us. As you may know, this event was a part of many events that happened this week under the high patronage of the European Commission. And I'll leave the floor maybe to you, Viorel, so you can present yourself and explain what you do for deep tech companies and French deep tech companies as well.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. My name is Viorel Pekka. I'm head of Unit of Transition at EIC, European Innovation Council, and I will start right away. And I'm curious to know how many of you are familiar with EIC? Okay, I see quite some hands. Thank you very much. How many of you that are familiar with EIC are familiar, for example, with EIC Transition? Rings a bell? A bit less. That's what I thought. So, hang on. I would like to give you a bit of an. Unfortunately, I see the slides are not starting in the right order. Yeah, but I will compensate. So EIC basically has three main compartments. From Pathfinder at the lower TRL, you know, and then we have Transition at the mid TRL and Accelerator. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with Accelerator because, yeah, it's the biggest compartment. So all these three compartments, they implement the EIC vision from idea to the market. So really, we are following, and I make the link with previous speaker about the TRL. So the Pathfinder TRL1 ending up with Accelerator at TRL 9. All these three compartments are supported by what we call the business acceleration services. Why? Because we are convinced that money are, of course, necessary, even in case of deep tech, a lot of money, but they are not sufficient. So we are providing all of them with business acceleration services, or BAS for short. We start with what we call skills, training, for example. Then we move to contacts, for example, as we do soft landing, and then, of course, help them with contacts or contracts, where, for example, like trade fairs, like companies, innovation procurement, and so on and so on. We are here, and it's part of our collaboration with BPI, as part of our tech-to-market business acceleration services, which is, if you want, part of the BUS, but they are dedicated to early stage, what we call early stage beneficiary. And I make here the link with the first roundtable. We are working mostly with researchers that want to see the result of their research to the market. And the tech-to-market bus, that we have basically two main blocks. One we call entrepreneurship program, where we are doing trainings to start with, like introductory trainings. Then we have our pioneer program. We do really more in-depth program. And we have even a sort of I-Corps-like program for the one of you that are aware about the I-Corps. And then second leg is a venture building program, which we get with our partner Collider, because we want to give to researchers the choice. And perhaps this is a nice idea also to help BPI, because certain researchers, especially the PhD, wants to start their own company, but some of them may not. And then it's good to offer them the opportunity to get in contact with other entrepreneurs. So now, finally, let me go to my slide here. This is simplifying a bit the transition component, where we are starting at this TRL 3 and 4, or 4, not less than that. And we are maturing the technology. That's why we call the technology track, but we are also maturing the business. And the whole goal is to finish at this TRL 6. And I was really happy to hear the previous speaker saying that at this TRL, the investors are starting, the private investors are starting to be interested because, of course, a certain amount of risk has been reduced. But what kind of differentiate the transition and why you should be interested to invest into transition projects, and quite a few of them will pitch them in a few minutes, is that from the beginning we have attracted high caliber researcher, and I'm sure you are familiar with Anne Huillet, which is one of our 3 Nobel Prize winners that applied to the transition, actually the only one who got a transition project, which shows how selective we are. And I know that, you know, selecting your investment, it's a big part of your time. So partnering with us and investing in the EIC project and supported companies, you will be sure that we have a very rigorous selection process. Another example that I want to give to you, if the slides move, is the Q-Dot company, and it's the first one that implements this idea to the market, because they started in 2016 with the Pathfinder, they went to the transition, and this year they are starting the accelerator when they got a 10 million blended finance, so 2.5 million plus 10 million of equity that, you know, you can imagine if you would have invested in Q-Dot in 2022, for example, now for sure the valuation would increase drastically. Now, another example of one of our beneficiaries, Kilimanjaro, part of the transition project that you see on the screen, was declared at Mobile World Congress earlier this year. They won the pitch competition as the best startup pitching at the Mobile World Congress and it's a startup in the quantum area, of course, a very hot domain. And then I would like to give another example, which I'm sure sounds familiar with you, the Switch energy company, which is a transition beneficiary, and then they closed a 25 million series, and their pilot factory on the Rhone Delta is under construction and will very soon deliver up to 500 megawatts of clean energy using the osmotic energy. That means the difference between salty water and sweet water, and this will be with zero emissions. So. And then my final example here, it's in the health domain, an Envision, and you see a bit how important is the public investment. The basis of the success of Envision, which raised last year $30 million, was put in 2011. With our money in 2017, the ILP, they hired their CEO, their first employee in the company, and then finally, they got other project, the Innovation Radar Prize, and all this support, continuous support, no doubt, with their hard work, helped to raise the company. So imagine now for a second that you would have invested in them in 2020. I'm sure that would have been already a nice increase in your valuation. What we see, and this is just my short available time, but we see quite a trend here. And I think this is important because we see that solid projects raise quite some amount of capital at a very early stage, so that they don't have to go to accelerator, for example. And I just give not even the tip of the iceberg kind of examples. And the success factors are, and I think it's fitting very well what was said just a few minutes ago, people, of course, the technology, very solid technology, deep tech technology, and of course a very important market needs that, or market opportunity, depending how you look at it, that is not only solving an issue in France and not even in Europe, but in the whole world. And the fact that so early these type of companies are attracting private capital together with the public one, of course, it's very important because it's shortcutting the innovation cycle. It shows that the innovation process is not linear. And then, of course, this in turn creates competitiveness for Europe, has impact on all our challenges from health to clean tech, but also important for you, it's an important investment opportunity. I think you, as investor, you are, I would call, a prosumers, because of course you are investing, but you are benefiting from this investment. So it's a clear win-win situation. I will stop here, thanking you for your attention in EIC and our beneficiary, and I would like to invite already on the stage the first beneficiary. We have 5 of them from what I call early stage beneficiaries. So the first one will be ILOS Robotic, who will be represented by its CEO, Mr. Pablo Lopez Garcia. Pablo?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, in the 15th century, Leonardo da Vinci dreamed of a helicopter that engineers needed 500 years to build. And the last piece of the puzzle that those engineers needed to build a helicopter was actually a gearbox. Today, in modern robotics, we have a similar situation. We dream of humanoid robots, exoskeletons, and bionic prostheses that can drastically improve our lives. But practically, when we robotics engineers are done putting all the components that we need in those robots, they are too heavy. And because they're too heavy, they need to move slow to be safe, they are expensive, and they need a lot of energy, so they need large and heavy batteries. Hello, I am Pablo. I'm an experienced car industry manager, and 7 years ago, I joined the robotics research group of the Vrije Universiteit Brussels to develop a gearbox to tackle that problem. Why a gearbox? Because a gearbox is the right place to start when you're trying to reduce the weight of a machine that is moving, and because a robot is, just like Da Vinci's helicopter, a self-carrying machine, which means that if you can reduce its weight, you can use lighter motors and lighter batteries to power it that make the robot even lighter, which means you can use even lighter motors and batteries to make the robot even lighter, and so on. So fast forward in 7 years and 25 prototypes, we now have a patented gearbox technology that allows us to cut the weight, the cost, and the energy need of a robot by a half, making it about 50% faster. Today, we're building our MVP prototypes that will be tested with 5 different customers after the summer, and we're fundraising. We have a lead investor that secures a first million, and we need a second million to be 5,000 of these gearboxes. So if you want to be part of this, please get in touch, and let's shift modern robotics into high gear together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pablo. And ILOS and Pablo will be available in the networking session. And it is my pleasure to invite Kurais and Mr. Shai Magnes, the CEO. The floor is yours for a bit less than 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Shai Magnes. I'm co-founder and CEO of Cruise. I lead a team of 19 human physicists and engineers building an AI physicist, which means I'm also leading a team of thousands of virtual physicists. When we try to build new technologies, hyperpolarized MRI, silicon photonics, quantum computers, etc., many times the device we actually build failed to meet our initial expectations. The resolution in MRI is lower than expected, or the error rates in quantum computers are higher than expected, and the only way around that is to effectively reverse engineer our own device to understand the difference between what we plan to build and what we actually build. And we need to pinpoint the exact physical phenomena that are giving us trouble. Unfortunately, this requires a lot of effort and a lot of highly skilled humans. And I'm sure many of the hardware startups here are dealing with exactly the same issue. Cruise built the AI physicists to solve this problem. With our software, R&D teams get a rapid, detailed insight into what's going on inside their device, what's exactly is going wrong, and they get actionable information on how to fix it. And it all runs fully locally in the lab with no IP leaking to Cruise or anybody else. So our customers enjoy a much accelerated R&D cycle, which is a huge competitive advantage. Now, we validated our solution in multiple labs with multiple technologies, from superconducting qubits to neutral atoms. Our product is in initial commercial rollout in the quantum computing, quantum sensing market. We have a deep sales pipeline, significant market traction, and a co-selling agreement with a leading provider of quantum technologies. We're building a solution for MRI and then silicon photonics, and expanding our addressable market with each additional vertical. Having previously raised a sizable convertible loan and a $2.5 million EIC grant, We're now raising a 4 million seed to close at the end of Q3, which will be matched by non-dilutive government grants. The money will be used to accelerate commercial expansion in quantum and initial commercial rollout in MRI. And I look forward to Zooming with you and telling you more about Cruise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I would like to invite now our next startup, Spin Cloud, represented by Christian Heynor, the CEO. Christian, the floor is yours. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Pekka. My name is Christian Eichhorn. I'm co-founder and co-CEO of Spin Cloud Systems, and we commercialize brain-inspired supercomputers. That basically this technology is a spin-off not only of the Dresden University of Technology and the University of Manchester, but also from the European flagship Human Brain Project. And we partnered in the course of the project with Steven Ferber. And for those of you who are not familiar with Steven Ferber, he's basically the lead architect of the ARM architecture, which powers all our mobile phones today. And he's also the originator of our unique architecture. Why brain inspiration? Because the brain is very energy efficient. It's just consumes 20 watts to do very amazing things. It's very robust, and it has the ability to reason. And it's exactly the problems that current AI is facing. So ChatGPT is very energy inefficient. It hallucinates, and it's not able to reason. And what we are using, we are tackling different verticals, so drug discovery, complex optimization and constraint satisfaction, quantum emulation, but also we are active in the defense space. So we currently announced our partnership with Sandia National Labs, basically the largest national lab in the US, which basically were responsible for the Manhattan Project. So they are familiar with emerging technologies. And they say that our architecture is the most natural and flexible supercomputer architecture on the market. And they will use it to build the next generation of nuclear deterrence systems. And they partnered for the first time with a European startup, because no Intel, no NVIDIA a company can serve the problems they want to tackle. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christian. Very exciting, and they are looking for 6 million. So I would like to invite Anne-Marie, and Anne-Marie, please take a phone from Grove. The floor is yours, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. The first digital computers were made of vacuum tubes. If we would still make our computers like this today, our phones would be the size of a skyscraper. But the invention of the transistor marked a turning point, kickstarting the semiconductor industry and making our phones fit in our pocket. Silicon Valley was born. But did you know that the first transistors were not made of silicon, but of germanium? Germanium has superior quality, but at the time was more difficult to process. Today, these difficulties have been overcome, and germanium is back, now in the form of rapidly scaling quantum processing power. My name is Anne-Marie Zwerver, and I'm here to represent Groove Quantum. The world is hungry for quantum computers because they promise to solve demanding challenges. Current progress by reputable players have been impressive, demonstrating around 100 qubits. However, for their chips, they rely on materials that are inherently non-scalable to the millions of qubits that are needed for practical quantum computation, simply due to their, again, massive size. With Groove Quantum, we're using the advantages of germanium to scale to the millions of qubits that are needed for practical quantum computation. The germanium qubit is based on the transistor, and the synergy with the developments in the semiconductor industry makes our chips small and makes that we can scale faster with additional robustness and at lower cost. Recently, germanium has gained traction in the field. Yet, as we demonstrated our first qubit in 2018, and recently reached 10 qubits and 99.99% fidelity, we have a 4-year head start, and we have the key people and IP. With the excellent and pioneering Groove team, we are sprouting from QTech, a world-leading quantum institute in Delft, and we're closely connected to the Delft quantum ecosystem. Moreover, we're the beneficiary of a 2.5 million EIC grant, and now we are ready to scale. Our next key step is the demonstration of the exceptional scalability of our qubits through the fabrication of these qubits on existing semiconductor pilot lines, allowing us to go to 100 qubits in the coming 2 years. For this, we're looking for a funding round of 8 million euros. Do you want to join our journey? Come by and see how we are pioneering the Germanium Valley.
Thank you, absolutely amazing. And it's my great pleasure to invite the last but not least startup from EIC. The floor is yours, Alfonso.
Thanks a lot. So MRI is a magical solution to perform medical imaging. I'm sure that many of you have already had the experience to pass through those big donuts, and as well the bad experience to wait for it, because even in a highly developed country like France, you have to wait on average in between 1 month and 2 months to perform the image by itself. Why? Because MRI requires a very high intensity magnetic field in between 1 Tesla and 3 Teslas with an associated cost of 1 million and 3 million. So those devices are extremely expensive, extremely big, very hard to deploy. It does require specific civil installations. In Fisher MRI, we do capitalize the experience working with the main research center like the Spanish Institute for Medical Imaging or Leiden University in Leiden. We have developed a game changer, a small MRI which is portable, which is the size of a washing machine that you can plug into the standard grid. It consumes only 1 kilowatt, and we do apply for the musculoskeletal market, which means 30% of the global market of MRI, growing at 2 digits every year. And our product is fully ready. We have already passed the clinical trial. We have already passed more than 100 patients in La Fe Hospital. We have even our own factory in place. And our team is a senior team in all the specific tasks of the company. We have backup so far. We have been backed up by the EIC in the research and development stages with a pathfinder and a transition, and with our own stakeholders, which are key opinion leaders in this domain, like Dr. Luis Martí Bonmatí, who has been the president of the European Association for Radiologists, and, for instance, the sport NBA player Luis Escola. So we are seeking for 5 million in order to scale up, to produce the first 100 units, and to become a unicorn. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Alfonso. And I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, will recognize themselves that we had to wait for weeks and weeks and even go to another city. So like I say, success factor, solving big issue. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed our 5 companies from EIC. There are many more, so I hope you will look for them and ask for more detail. Thank you very much, and looking forward.
Thank you very much. So this brings to an end our roundtables. Just a quick reminder, we're going to have now the pitching sessions that are going to start. So you've got sustainable, digital, industry, and health tech. So I'll let you all go where you need to go. And then my colleagues will take it from there to get it started. We have the networking session just afterwards, and we have the cocktail at 7 p.m. for even more networking. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you later.